Hello, this is the first installment of the Introduction to Philosophy series. This video will cover just the basics, the branches of philosophy, types of arguments. So let's look at the branches. Philosophy is divided into three main branches: metaphysics, ethics, and epistemology. So, what is philosophy? Well, it comes from the Greek philo, which means lover, and sophia, which means wisdom. So, literally, it means lover of wisdom. A more useful definition is a critical analysis of fundamental beliefs. Epistemology, one of the branches of philosophy, studies the theory of knowledge and what does it mean to have knowledge. Then there's metaphysics, which studies of what exists and the nature thereof. And of course there's ethics, the study of morality, such as what makes right right, and what does it really mean to live the good life. In philosophy, there are arguments, so we have to see the components of an argument first before we can talk about them. First, there's statements, which is an assertion that something is or is not the case. Statements have a truth value and are meaningful. An example is a triangle has three sides as a statement. I feel cold. 7 plus 5 equals 12. Does God exist? That's not a statement, it's a question. John is tall. Not a statement, because there's the problem of vagueness. What is tall? Tall for one person may be short for another one. It depends on what you mean by tall. There will be a riot tomorrow is not a philosophical statement because of a future contingent that has not happened yet. It doesn't have a truth value. Alright, then there's premises, which are sets of statements. And then we have a conclusion, which is a statement that purports to follow from another or other the premises by means of an argument. So essentially an argument equals a set of premises plus a conclusion. So finally, the definition of an argument is as a set of statements, which is the premises, which are intended to support another statement, the conclusion, and has something to prove. Okay, so let's look at the first type of argument there is, deductive arguments. A deductive argument whose premise intends to provide logically conclusive support for its conclusion. These arguments are truth-preserving, for the premises or guarantee the conclusion. They can be valid if they're successful, or invalid. If they're valid, all of the premises are true, then the conclusion must also be true. Validity concerns the structure of the argument, not the content. We'll get to the content later. Invalid, it's possible for other premises to be true and the conclusion to be false. So let's look at some examples. Premise 1, all humans are mortal, is a truth value of being true. Plato is a human, true. Therefore, Plato is mortal. The structure logically follows: if the premises are true, then the conclusion must be true, and so is the case, so it's valid. Let's take a look at another one. Premise 1. All tortoises are good jumpers. The truth value is false. Aristotle is a tortoise. Truth value false. Thus, Aristotle is a good jumper. True. Well, why is it true? Because if the premises are true, then it must follow that the conclusion is true. So if all tortoises are good jumpers, and if Aristotle is a tortoise, then Aristotle must be a good jumper. So this is another valid argument. Let's take a look at one more. Premise 1. All crocodiles are reptiles. Premise 2. Joe is a reptile. Conclusion. Therefore, Joe is a crocodile. It does not logically follow that all crocodiles are reptiles. So Joe is a reptile, therefore Joe is a crocodile. So this would be an invalid argument, because even if all the premises are true, the conclusion isn't necessarily true, because Joe could be a iguana or something else. It just says he's a reptile. It doesn't logically follow, therefore he has to be a crocodile. Now, we covered validity, which is concerned with form and structure of an argument. Now we have to focus on what does it mean to be a sound argument. A sound argument is valid, all the premises are true, and has a true conclusion. Sound arguments are concerned with form and content, as opposed to validity, which just concerns form and structure. An unsound argument is either invalid, has one false premise, or has a false conclusion. So, example, premise 1, if A, then B. Premise 2, A, conclusion B. This is valid, but it's unsound because there's just letters, there's no content. So let's take a look at a second example. Premise 1, all humans are mortal. True, Plato is human. True, therefore Plato is mortal. Sound because it's valid 1, all the premises are true, and the conclusion is true. So we've learned the types of arguments, the best being sound, then the next best is valid, the next best is unsound, and the worst type of argument is an invalid argument. So how do you undermine a deductive argument? In order to undermine a deductive argument, one must present a possible or imaginary case where all the premises are true and the conclusion is false. For example, premise 1, if it is raining, then it's cloudy. Premise 2, it's cloudy. Conclusion, it's raining. You can counter or undermine this argument by pointing out it does not always rain when it's cloudy. The next type of arguments are inductive arguments. Inductive arguments have premises that tend to provide a reliable or probable support for its conclusion. When they succeed, they are merely reliable, and when they fail, they are unreliable. This type of argument, unlike deductive argument, is not truth-preserving and at most is probable and often being statistical. So not always true, a certain percentage of the time it may be true. Just to sort of give a classic example from a philosophical named Bertrand Russell. He kind of gave this example called his inductivist turkey. And it goes like this. The turkey found that on his first morning at the turkey farm that he was fed at 9 a.m. Being a good inductivist turkey, he did not jump to conclusions. He waited until he collected a large number of observations that he was fed at 9 a.m. and made these observations under a wide range of circumstances, on Wednesdays, on Thursdays, on cold days, on warm days. Each day he added another observation statement to his list. Finally, he was satisfied that he had collected a number of observation statements to inductively infer that I am always fed on at 9 a.m. However, on the morning of Christmas Eve, he was not fed, but instead had his throat cut. Although the turkey's reasoning was reliable, probabilistic, it was not necessarily true. The last kind of argument that we'll cover is called abductive arguments. Simply, it's the inference to the best conclusion, and you see these you would see this in a courtroom. When a prosecutor provides inferences, evidence to the jury of the best explanation that the defendant is guilty. And that is all I have for this video. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like, much appreciated. Leave a comment if you have suggestions for further topics. If you'd like to keep updated on my uploads, please subscribe. And that's all.